Yeah, no, I remember it perfectly. Walking across the stage, round of applause, grab my degree, sit back down. Now what? Are you coasting right now? Uni blues got its claws in you. I'm here to talk about and address the very common feeling that most of us get when we've once graduated university. This feeling of being lost and aimless without direction, and 3 tips that are going to support you in this transition period. So if you're watching this feeling a little lost, depressed, or even anxious about the future, allow me to give you some much needed practical advice and relief. I first want to make it known that this information comes from someone who has experienced exactly what you're feeling at this current time. The notion of uncertainty and also post-university depression. Yes, this is a very real phenomenon, and one that doesn't get quite as much attention in relation to its prevalence. To go from living by your own means with your friends to almost go backwards, living once again in your parents' house, has psychological repercussions, namely the loss of independence, freedom, and also what time you have your dinner. Like me, you might begin to feel resentful because there is nothing worse than your parents telling you how to live, especially after you've managed perfectly for 3 years or longer. No doubt there exists minutiae stresses, but they really pale in comparison to the reality that we must now start a career and structure the next 30, 40 years of our lives. No wonder so many of us are feeling lost and overwhelmed. So you've graduated, so what? You're still unemployed. And that's really the key to all of this. Sure, you have a degree, but if you're anything like me, perhaps you are starting to have some reservations about the subject you've devoted 3 or 4 years of your life to. Look, this is a very natural reaction, but it kind of paves the way for the first piece of advice I'm going to give you to start, which is get some kind of job ASAP. The longer you begin to draw out the time period from graduating to starting some kind of employment makes things 100% worse. This time in front of you will always be compared to past events, regardless of the situation in front of you. This is where depression really starts to take hold and get its claws into you, because if you don't keep your mind and body engaged, your mind will begin to flutter back to those house parties where you were highly inebriated. Please realize it doesn't even need to be a job in your sector. I mean, I was working for ASOS at this time, which has nothing to do with exercise science, but it stopped me from coasting aimlessly, which is an easy stream to kind of fall into. This is some tough love for you here, but you don't need more time off. You don't need to go gallivanting around Asia. You need structure, and even getting a simple job as a barista in a coffee shop will give you some long-term perspective, trust me. I know better than anyone how much free time some of you students have at university. More than anyone, I know the thoughts and feelings you're going to be experiencing at this time, and all of it is a consequence of lack of self-regulation, which brings me on to number 2. Start exercising regularly. Between job applications, starting a consistent exercise routine is the most valuable thing you can do. A big mistake I made after coming back home to live with my parents was not continuing my weightlifting program. There is no doubt in my mind that it made my post-university depression far worse than it needed to be. I realized when I reintroduced it that my energy was tenfold. I could get up in the morning easier, my brain fog was gone. And since then I delved into the research between exercise, depression, and mental health, and I was astonished at the intrinsic relationship exercise plays in relieving all mental health afflictions, including anxiety, stress, overthinking, and of course, our depression. You can find a plethora of peer-reviewed papers supporting this and many more videos in my channel if you're interested, but the fact remains that exercise, if done correctly and consistently enough, will create an experience where negative thoughts are simply not possible. And this brings me on to my 3rd piece of advice for you, my friends. Practice mindfulness. This last and equally important discovery I made at this time is the practice of mindfulness. You may have experience with this phrase, but sadly I did not at this time. Mindfulness simply describes exercising our awareness of our thoughts and of our feelings. At this time of feeling lost, it's very, very easy to beat yourself up with thoughts telling yourself that you're lazy, that you're no good, that you're not contributing to society. That is why it's critical to recognize that we are not our thoughts. You can practice mindfulness in many different ways. My favorite is meditating 20 minutes before bed, and it's actually my favorite part of my day. To just sit and observe the almost humorous mental chatter until it dissolves into the stillness of the present moment here. But you can choose other practices like journaling, writing and jotting down your thoughts and feelings. Yoga is another excellent practice that I have used to provide me with some great introspection. It is so easy to ignore the chatter of our minds now, to block it out with Netflix and YouTube and video games and so on. However, I'm truly of the opinion this makes things much worse. If you suppress something, it always comes back with a vengeance. In short, my friends, it's very important to take some time to open up a dialogue with ourselves. Look at our thoughts without judgment, just objectivity. I want to kind of come full circle now. These are 3 practical things you should employ as soon as you can to get you out of your funk. I will reiterate that a lot of what you're feeling is a loss of structure and self-regulation that is disguising and masquerading itself as this feeling of being lost. The answer to your responsibility being taken away is by taking on more responsibility. Start working, get moving, and listen to yourselves. If you found any of this information valuable, I have a number of other resources available that I really think will help support you think, feel, do, and be better in all aspects of your daily living. So feel free to check those out on my YouTube channel. And again, if you subscribe to anything of what I said here, subscribe to me, and I will see you very soon.